two stone figures look almost identical. I wouldn't even have dreamed of standing in front of this gate a few days ago. Castle looks real gloomy. The overgrown garden, the damp fog, and my current state of mind don't really help it seem any friendlier. The stone figurine is a naked woman, a nymph. Huh. The lock on the letterbox seems to be damaged. Empty. There's a really thick branch lying in the undergrowth. Looks solid. It's damp but not rotten. It must have broken off the tree quite recently. Maybe in the storm yesterday. Huh. The braces on this door are badly weathered. Two have turned to rust and aren't even connected to the door frame at the bottom. No way. The braces are only connected to the frame on one side, but they're much more resistant than I thought. Using this branch as a lever should work. That's it.
Hey! How did you get in here?
The gate was open.
Really? I'll wring that brat's neck. I've told her 100 times that the gate must always stay closed if we don't want yobbos snooping around the grounds.
If you're referring to me, I'm not a yobo. I'm a policeman.
Oh, you don't say. Then you're sure to have ID. Can I help you, sir?
I've told Mr.
Lewis, good sir. To you, it's just Lewis. You'll take care of this bit. Wonderful. You will have to excuse our gardener, sir. How can I help you?
My name is Falk. I'm investigating a murder that occurred at the lighthouse last night.
I heard about that. Terrible. But tell me, your accent.
I'm part of an exchange program. The United States, Canada, and Great Britain exchange detectives to learn about the various investigative methods. Sherlock Holmes meets Dick Tracy, you might say.
If the government deems it necessary. What about Inspector Collier? Shouldn't he be accompanying you?
He's sick today.
I see. He is getting on a bit. How can I help you?
Phew. This is an amazing property.
Indeed. It's a place steeped in history.
Unfortunately, all that history often had plenty to do with blood, death, and misfortune, from what I've heard.
The Gordon family was often put to the test. That's true.
Forgive me for putting it like this, but the castle doesn't make the best impression.
I don't understand what that has to do with your inquiry, Mr. Falk.
A witness saw an unusual black car at the crime scene.
What do you mean by unusual? The Gordon family does have a classic 30s English automobile in its possession.
Unusual enough. Were you up on the cliff with the car this morning?
The ladies haven't driven out anywhere today. And I also don't think that Lewis has taken the car either. Ask him. He looks after the car. Mainly when he should be looking after the garden.
This Lewis has a bit of an abrupt manner.
He's Welsh.
Uh-huh.
He came with his mistress, Lady Eleanor, when she moved in here after the death of her husband. He used to look after her castle's gardens in Wales. He used to have a different kind of work ethic there.
Lady Eleanor owns a castle in Wales?
She does. Her husband, Sir Richard, was killed in a dreadful accident a few years back. She moved here soon after that.
Interesting. What can you tell me about Samuel's ghost, which some of the tourists believe they've seen?
Indeed, there are a few tourists who believe they have seen him. But nothing unusual has happened for 12 years now, apart from the castle being virtually besieged by tourists every now and again.
But not anymore.
No. Although, only yesterday there was a married couple who came to see the castle and its alleged ghost. Since they asked me politely in advance, I let them have a look around the garden. But did they find what they wanted? I very much doubt it. There are no ghosts here.
You said ladies.
Lady Victoria, she owns Black Mirror Castle, and Lady Eleanor is a relative of hers from Wales. The ladies are the last of the Gordons. They reside here in the castle.
Can I have a word with them?
I would prefer it if you didn't disturb them. Lady Victoria is not a young woman.
No harm in a few words, surely.
Whatever there might be to discuss, you can also discuss with me. I've been involved with the Gordons for more than 70 years. I can tell you everything you may wish to know.
This woman has been murdered. Did you know her?
Are you sure, sir?
Sadly, yes. Her name is Angelina Morgan. You seem to recognize her.
Come with me, sir. We'll have to show this to the ladies.
Fine.
One moment, please, sir. I'll announce your arrival.
What was that in the mirror?
Mr. Falk, their ladyships are ready to receive you.
Mr. Falk, is everything all right?
Yes, thank you. I didn't sleep well. Lady Victoria? Lady Eleanor. My name is Inspector Falk. I'm investigating a murder case.
Bates said you had a photograph of the victim.
That's right. Do you know her?
What's her name?
Angelina Morgan.
I don't know her.
If that's everything.
I do have a few more questions.
It's all right, Bates. Of course, we will be glad to cooperate with the police. Drive to the village and do the job I asked you to do. I'm sure the inspector will keep us company.
Very well, Mom.
So, how can we help you?
You seem to be extremely keen to see the picture of the dead woman, and Bates had a noticeable reaction when I showed him the picture. You are sure that you don't know this young lady?
Quite sure. Only we are concerned. The murder took place quite close to here.
Not the first.
Sadly, you're quite right. It's now. It's 12 years ago, you understand. So many years. And now there's another murder.
Tell me about the series of murders 12 years ago.
No. It doesn't have a thing to do with this crime.
Leave all that alone. Please confine yourself to this murder case. This is quite bad enough already.
Your butler Bates seems to be looking after you.
He has been our butler for decades. He is something like the decent soul of this house. He sees it as his highest duty to do all he can for my well-being. Also, even if he neglects his own welfare.
Is he ill?
Yes, I fear he is. We've often suggested that he sit with us and enjoy some peace and quiet for a while, but he always strictly denies that he can no longer fulfill his obligations. We've recently taken on domestic help to at least help him out a little.
May I look around the castle? I'd very much like to talk to Louis one more time.
Of course. We have nothing to hide. Stay as long as you like. Only please keep away from the private rooms.
That goes without saying, ma'am. You've only been living here a few years, Lady Eleanor?
That's right. I didn't want to live alone in a big house after my husband died.
So you moved in with your relatives in Willow Creek and brought Louis with you?
Louis was our gardener in Wales. He is sometimes a bit difficult, but I didn't have the heart to lay him off. I offered him to come with me and look after the garden here.
Which he doesn't seem to do.
Well, he didn't cope very well with having to leave his garden and his home in Wales.
Tell me about your estate in Wales.
It's a lovely castle. Not as big or old as this one. I haven't been back since we left. I'm afraid it's probably in a terrible condition. And the marsh has probably spread even further. It's terrible. I couldn't stomach seeing our home like that. We had many happy years there.
When did your husband die?
A few years ago, Sir Richard, my husband, was a scientist. He did his experiments in a summer house. I used to joke that he would blow himself up one day. I didn't really believe that that's exactly what would happen.
I'm willing to bet that I was imprisoned in Lady Eleanor's castle. It all fits together perfectly. And the phone call would suggest that it wasn't chosen at random. Did she make her old estate available for the Order to use? Louis is here of his own free will. I don't understand why he doesn't give this new life a go.
You are young, Mr. Falk. You don't know what it's like having to leave your home behind you. Louis's roots are in Wales. A tree withers without roots.
Why doesn't he go back then?
I've suggested it to him. I promised him a small amount of money to start him off. First, I thought he would do it. But then he stayed after all.
Strange.
He's a complicated man. He's been working for me for over 20 years, but I still don't have the feeling that I actually know him. I think he blames me for his unhappiness. He only ever speaks to me if it can't be avoided, and I can see that hate in his eyes.
What kind of research was Sir Richard doing?
He had very diverse interests. After the tragedy 12 years ago, he was mainly concerned with, well, with blood.
With blood?
He was convinced that the Gordons' blood must somehow be different from that of other people. I think he was looking for a scientific explanation for all of the misery that has accompanied the family for hundreds of years.
A curse in a test tube.
Insanity is hereditary, as you may know. Why not misfortune?
Or the misfortune is only the result of the hallucinations. That explains what Angelina was looking for in Wales. She was hoping that Richard had found out something interesting before he died. I'm going to have another look around. Goodbye, Lady Eleanor.
It's nice to see another face in this house.
Jeez. Now that's a friendly-looking face. That's how I imagine a bloodthirsty Russian czar would look like. Wild eyes, evil glare, and expensive clothes. I'm quite sure that he didn't earn the bling on his fingers and round his neck through hard work. I'd say something like a knight or a nobleman. And judging by his clothing, he must have been around 100 years ago. He seems somehow familiar. Probably an ancestor of the Gordons. No. I don't want to look in there again. The plant hasn't been here long. Considering the amount of light it gets, it's not gonna last long either. A huge metal globe. A monstrous thing. A large double-winged door. It's no different from the others. It's locked.
Inspector, you have no reason to be here. This door is to remain closed.
Certainly, madam. Please forgive me. Why is she making such a big deal about this door? Hello.
Oh, hello. A living soul. Here?
My name is Falk, Inspector Falk. I'm a policeman.
A copper? How exciting. I'm Sally.
Do you know this woman?
Never seen her before. Looks a bit like a snob.
I don't suppose there are pictures of all the cooks who have worked here by any chance.
No idea. Must be ages ago, though, since there was an actual cook here. Ask Bates, he knows everything.
I'd prefer not to ask either him or Lady Victoria.
Then I don't know either.
You and Bates, look after everything here?
Well, looking after. Bates does most of that. He lets me do all the dirty work, cleaning, cooking, and all that sort of thing.
Isn't that your job?
That's what he says all the time. But being honest, I'd expected something quite different, you know? I mean, a castle with such snobs living in it. You'd expect the odd soiree every now and again.
Or a cute prince.
Well, Charles is off the market now. But anyone under 80 would do this place a world of good. Sometimes it really does seem like a grave here.
What can you tell me about Lewis?
A disgusting man. Ugh. I was hoping when I started he wouldn't be a snob like all the others are here. But he's just as boring and in a permanent bad mood. I never get more than 3 words out of him.
Do you know what's behind the locked door in the hall?
I've asked myself that question too. But you can't get a thing out of Bates about it. Once, he got me listening at the door. He gave me such a telling off, like nothing I'd ever known before. He was so mad, he nearly collapsed. He was coughing blood and I had to hold him up. I've been giving the door a wide berth since then.
I've got to find out what's behind that door. The rooms there would be an ideal hiding place for one of the mosaic tiles. Is Lady Victoria a good boss?
I don't know. Bates hardly lets me talk to her. When I first came here, I made her ladyship a few suggestions on how she might want to redecorate the castle a bit. Just get rid of a bit of the mustiness, you know? Since then, I always have to ask Bates if I want something from a ladyship.
What's wrong with Lady Eleanor?
What could be wrong with her? Snore. Sits around all day either knitting or reading.
Anything else?
She plays piano for Lady Victoria every now and again. In this house, that counts as having a wild party. You know, it's about time I got myself another position.
You want to leave?
Yeah, sooner rather than later. Maybe to a movie or a pop star's house. Somewhere where things are a bit lively at least.
Can you tell me anything about Samuel's ghost? Apparently it's been seen by a few tourists.
Oh yeah, I've seen it too. At one of the windows. It scared the living daylights out of me. A gruesome face. I hope I'll never see it again.
Huh. That's true. At which window?
I don't remember exactly. I think it was in the Forbidden Wing.
Forbidden Wing.
Yeah, you know, what's behind the locked door in the hall.
Okay. I won't keep you from your work any longer.
Ah, don't worry about it.
A pair of old rubber boots. They're as clean as when they were made, though. Perhaps they belong to Lewis. A kitchen range that could really only be found in furniture catalogs of the last century. You can't really make out anymore what this picture's supposed to be. Perhaps it's not such a good idea to hang pictures directly above the stove. Well, the dishes are well looked after, but you can't hide their age. They're becoming faded. There ain't many dishes for such a big household, but they're probably only used by the ladies. Much too good for the servants. A few teaspoons. They're all well polished and lined up in a neat row. I'm just gonna take a spoon. Two little metal pots. Judging by the layer of dust, they're no longer used. An empty vase. It looks old, like everything here. coffee grinder is the last thing I'd have expected in an English castle, but it looks really new and unused. The door is bolted. Might lead to a storeroom or a cellar.